All right, Raymond, we rolling? Hello and welcome to the CS Duplessis Show. A big shout out to our partners at Betway. Check out betway.co.za for more information. Now, I'm very excited because in the past, in my line of work, when you interview athletes, you tend to have sort of 10 minutes, 15 minutes. If you're lucky, it's after a training session or it's at an airport arrival or departure. And since 2016, I've had the privilege of interviewing my guest, Janine van Wyk, who is an absolute legend of South African women's football, a wonderful ambassador. But every time I interview, it's like 3 or 4 minutes. And then when we're cutting it for television, it's maybe 20 seconds. So Ray, my executive producer, was working out that it's probably in total about 5 minutes that we've used of our interviews that we've done since 2016. But Janine, thanks for coming on, and I hope the coffee's all right.
I haven't tasted it yet, but I'm sure it's fine.
Okay, because it is early in the morning, so I appreciate your time. Let's start off. I see you back in South Africa, back with your club.
Yep.
Tell us how things going. I think busy is an understatement.
Yeah, definitely a lot busier compared to when I'm, relaxing overseas and just playing football and concentrating on my own game. But this is a different world out here in South Africa, having my own football club, JBW. It's tough being a businesswoman and a football player, all in one.
Yeah.
So trying to balance that lifestyle, and it's really difficult, not easy. Being a businesswoman throughout the day, and then in the evening you have to put your football boots on and, give your best and your best efforts physically.
Yeah.
So definitely not easy, but, towards the end of my career, it is worth it, because no one wants to retire and with regrets. So just pushing to give my all, the best that I can, continuing to do that. And, once I hang my boots, I will be pleased and happy with the fulfillment of a lengthy journey in a football career.
183 appearances for South Africa, debut back in 2005. It's world class. Congratulations. I know there's hopefully a few more games. I'm sure there's a few more games under the belt.
Yeah, hopefully. I think I need 2 more caps to break the record of being the highest cap player in Africa, male or female. Currently only in South Africa, where I'm the highest cap player, male or female. So that is a record still to be broken. I'm 2 caps away from that. Hopefully I'm able to achieve that before I hang my boots. Conversations need to happen with the head coach, Desiree Ellis, before I think of hanging my boots. I'm not one to give up easily on, my dreams.
Absolutely.
And it's something that I feel I need to accomplish before I retire. So it's something that is still hanging out there for me to achieve. And once I do, then, I will put my heart at ease and, easily transition into the next phase of my career of, not being a football player, but going into more of a coaching role after that.
I was about to ask you, for me, that makes the perfect sense. Firstly, at the moment, being a player coach with your club, being involved, having so many caps, that IP, that knowledge, that experience, it has to go back into women's football. But before we get to that, let's take it back. If someone had told a young Janine van Wyk when she first kicked a football, a few years back now,
more than a few years,
that you were going to represent South Africa on 183 occasions, would you have believed them, or would you have bitten their arm off, basically, if I can put it that way for that?
Never in a million years would I have believed that I would first play for a national team, because when I first started playing football, women's football was non-existent. Of course, there were a few leagues here and there in some areas, certain areas in the country, let alone in the community where I came from. So definitely I would have found it hard to believe that I would represent the country and for so many years and have a lengthy career representing the national team. So, for me, it was just about the enjoyment of the game, the passion and the love that I had for the game, still have for the game. And I think I would be one of very few in the country or even in the world to say that I would play the game without receiving a cent in my pocket, because I love the game so much that money does not matter to me. And of course, you need an income, and it would be very difficult to sustain a lifestyle without an income. But definitely would have found myself a full-time job, but on the side, play the game for the love of the game.
What would that full-time job have been, do you think?
I have no clue. Probably something in sports, though.
Yeah.
I really do love physiotherapy. I love sports massage. I love to give players massages. I'm still one that would, offer a massage to my teammates if they feel they have heavy legs, and I'm the one to step up if the physio is not available. So that is something that I enjoy to do, and probably go into, sports therapy or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
When did you know that football was for you? Like, take us back, because everyone, and I ask all the athletes that I speak to, everyone has that like light bulb moment, if I can put it, or that moment where they're like, damn, this is for me. This is the sport for me.
I think after I, raised eyebrows when I went into the townships, after playing with the boys, and still having that hunger and that drive to continue my football, because when you're a teenager, you reach a certain age and you find other interests within yourself, regardless if you're a very good footballer or not. But playing with the boys, and then it was almost a stress moment for me to figure out what's next after the boys, because I was told continuously, when you reach the age of 14, you can't be playing with the boys anymore. And, it was a stress factor for me, because I needed to find a team to play with, and especially a woman. And Fran Yulton-Smith was actually the person that rescued me from that, and put me into, or found a contact for me to join Springs Home Sweepers in Kwatema. And although it was a very difficult environment to be in, having to transition from playing with the boys, being the only girl, to now being the only white girl in a community that, it was unfamiliar for them to find a white person in their township and to play in the league itself. But I think after that, and drawing a certain amount of people to the stadium in Kwatema, into the complex, I started, believing more in myself and wanting to give more to the game, where, people would come up to me and ask for my autograph at age 15, just because I was brave enough to go into the community where, not any white person would go into back then. And for me, it was just, again, following my dreams and following, football, and where I could actually just enjoy the game freely and compete every single week. And I think from that point on, I felt like this is for me, this is my calling, and I want to continue and try and get as far as I possibly can.
That 15-year-old Janine van Wyk playing in for Springs back in the day, like, I mean, was it like dirt track fields? Was there grass? Maybe just sort of take us back how tough it was, because the fact that we're in 2023 and we look at where women's football is, if we go back to when you started playing, like, there has been progression and we have made giant strides.
Of course,
But there was nothing back then, was there?
There was nothing back then. I think I remember that the training field that we trained on, it was almost like a felt, so it wasn't actually grass. It wasn't green at all, and you'd find some small little stones in between the grass that you played on. The field markings were made from chalk. It wasn't actually paint. So sometimes it would be the players before the game quickly putting chalk on the side of the field to make a straight line, and sometimes the lines were a bit skewed as well, but as long as they were aligned, we were good to play. And also the nets in the goals, it wouldn't be proper nets, it would be, nets with holes in, because you'd have so much traffic on that pitch throughout the week that every single boy child, girl child, every team, young, old, would be on that pitch. So by the time we play our football games, it's like half sand, half grass that you play on. And I remember my mom, used to buy me boots almost every 2 months because, you'd find holes in front of the by your toes.
Yeah.
And, my uncle used to say, you just have to strap it in front. That's how I used to play. And I'm like, no, that's not going to happen. But these are the kind of facilities that we played on.
Yeah.
We didn't have change rooms. Sometimes we had to change behind a tree just to put our kit on. We had our team talks under a tree. There were no change rooms. I remember this one facility we played on. I think it was in Soweto that we played. And it was just gravel ground. There was not one single piece of grass on that pitch. And I remember actually I was playing because I wanted to play, but it was very difficult to play on that pitch. You were slipping all over the place with the boots that you had on. And I slide tackled a girl trying to stop a goal. And I had this big grass bird on the side of my leg. And it put me out for a week out of school because it was so infected.
Wow.
So I had to see doctors to get the infection away, had medication, everything, just because I made a silly decision to slide tackle on such a pitch. But you wouldn't find that today,
Yeah.
You wouldn't find that every single team would now protest because that's not good enough for the standard of women's football and where it's heading, and so on. But, this is what we grew up with, and it just made us stronger athletes.
Absolutely. A battle-hardened player.
Yeah.
Where women's football is now, I'm not saying we're on the right track, right? But there's still a lot of work to be done, right?
Definitely a lot of work to be done, especially in our country. But a lot of people are saying South Africa is stagnant, the rest of the world's, progressing, which I believe at a very fast pace, the rest of the world is, because in terms of development, financial stability, sponsorship coming in to invest in women's football, that is something that we lack in South Africa. Development, big part. Coaching development, massive.
Yeah.
We don't have the proper coaches. We don't have many coaching courses for the coaches to educate themselves, to bring back to their teams, to the players, for individual player development either. We don't have much grassroots development structures in our country. You look at the likes of the Americans, the Europeans now, in UK, in England, you have Arsenal ladies that have from the age of 8, 9, that they have proper structures and a pathway for their girls to progress in. And we lack that completely. We just rely on our national team, our senior national team, to do well, and to be the face of women's football and the growth of women's football in our country. And we can't rely on that. And of course, the success of Banyana throughout the years, the past couple of years, having qualified for the Olympic Games twice, FIFA Women's World Cup twice, back to back, that has set the mark and the standard for women's football in our country. And without the success of the national team, where would women's football be today? And now we are hoping and praying that, investors come on board, companies come on board to actually back and support women's football for a professional league, because you still find that a lot of teams are struggling. A lot of teams still have players, including myself and within my team, where we have girls still balancing a full-time job and then having to come and, play in a league week in, week out. And it's really difficult. You can't actually make a career out of playing the sport. So there are a lot of things that are lacking in our country, and things that need to improve for us to continue to close that gap between us and the rest of the world. But I must also emphasize a positive to say that there has been growth since I started playing football, and the women's leagues and the competition has definitely grown throughout the years. And although it's been baby steps and progressions, there has been progressions made. You can see, women actually, few players actually earning a decent income to sustain their lifestyle. But there are still other teams down the bottom in the Hollywood Bets League that are still struggling with facilities, proper facilities, not getting paid a single cent to play in the Hollywood Bets League. So it's really difficult to compete with, the teams that are backed and supported by their men's teams, like Sundowns, like AM Royal, like TS Galaxy, all those teams. So there's still a way to go for women's football in our country.
And I suppose that's why if you can get an opportunity to play overseas, it becomes so much more attractive, because not only can you earn some decent wages out there, you can also get that experience and be playing against quality.
Yeah.
And I mean, I look at your career, Houston Dash, you made history for South African women's football. I mean, it seems like you've made a lot of history for South African women's football along the way, but that must have been quite interesting. And I know obviously at that point it was the unknown, but it was going to America. It was something that I'm sure you were very excited about at the time.
Yeah, definitely. It came in 2017, and it was massive for me. It was a massive breakthrough for me in my career because, I was 29 years old when that deal came through. And, already people say when you reach the age of 26 and you haven't had a professional contract or been offered a professional contract, it's never going to happen. And for me at age 29, when that came through, I was really pleased. I was happy. I was over the moon that, still at that age, a club such as Houston Dash, back then probably the highest league to play in for a female footballer, I got that contract. So I was very happy and pleased to have played there, and I gained a lot of experience playing there. It was really difficult to play in such a league, competitive at training, competitive in games. I think out of the 24 games that we played, I managed to play 17 out of 24. So I was happy about that. But you constantly are kept on your toes. You're being treated like a professional. You come in the morning, you leave in the afternoon, and you're being treated like a professional athlete. And that is something that the players over here, obviously want to get that feeling of being treated like a professional athlete, getting paid like a professional player. And of course, if they're going to get a contract, for instance, in Belarus, they think it's the same as going to play in the United States. So only to find that league is probably worse than the Hollywood Bets League. But it's just that status of I get to go play overseas and I get to earn €1,000 a month where I get nothing here, even though the league is bad over there compared to the competition here, but they pay €1,000 and they pay nothing here.
Exactly.
So that is the difference.
Vera Pauw was involved, if I'm not mistaken, in the Houston Dash, but she's also played quite a big role in your career. Are you still in contact and that sort of thing?
Yeah, definitely. Vera Pauw is definitely a mentor of mine. We keep in contact at least once, twice a month. Before the World Cup, wished her well, had a chat to her. And I just love to pick her brain as a coach because I feel like with her mentorship and guidance, it can help me long term in my coaching career and where I want to head towards. I think she's been a phenomenal coach for the South African national team. The way she handles and player management with each individual as well as with a team. She is just something that she can't do wrong in my eyes, to be honest.
Okay.
So yeah, she's a phenomenal mentor and person and friend, I would say. She's definitely been that one that has given me that drive, that extra drive to continue to work hard and achieve what I want to achieve. She's always there backing me, supporting me. Even when I didn't make the World Cup squad, she was the first one to reach out, to ask how I am and how to deal with it. And
wow, that's amazing, eh?
So yeah, she's been, always supporting me, and I've been supporting her as well. I mean, she's been going through troubles with, I don't know if you've seen on social media about the Americans, and I try to also put a statement out that's, to put out that she's not that type of coach and she's not that type of person. And Americans are really difficult to handle and deal with. And with Vera coming into South Africa and having her ways of coaching, her coaching style, and her mythology of what she expects of every player worked in South Africa. It just didn't work in America, especially with the players that have more of a voice than what the coach has for the club. It was very difficult for her. So to put out false statements about the coach really hurt me, because I know Vera Pauw, I know how she operates, and it's just the Americans couldn't deal with that. So it's easy to put out false statements about the coach and slander the coach on social media. So I was the one that put out statements to back her and support her. So yeah, we are at that point where after the World Cup, I think she had a really successful run with the Irish national team. And I spoke to her a week ago, and she's willing to come to South Africa to come and mentor the JVW coaches.
Brilliant.
And have a coaching workshop, not only for JVW, but also coaches in South Africa, to have a coaches workshop over here to help mentor them. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing her, and hopefully other coaches can learn from her.
That's amazing. Because in a lot of people's eyes, she almost laid the groundwork for Banyana. And I know Desiree Ellis has done a phenomenal job with the group that she's got, but you are one of those trailblazers. You have paved the way for many of the players enjoying that success, playing in some of the best leagues in the world today. But at the same time, when Vera came in, it's almost like Banyana needed structure. They needed a professional approach. And that's all due respect to whoever came before. But it feels like she just laid the groundwork, and Banyana have been able to build on that since then.
Yeah, absolutely. I do believe, and many people believe that, Vera came in and laid the groundwork for us, and had a more structured approach for the national team. And I mean, a lot of players that are currently in the Banyana squad came from the era of Vera Pauw. So what the expectations are, what the roles are, what the responsibilities are in your position. And obviously they've grown in their own way, with their own different experiences by playing overseas and so on. But as a group of players, there's not one camp that I went to without us discussing Vera and what an impact she has had in the women's game in South Africa. So, she's definitely one that we will always remember, and one that has, set the tone for the standard of women's football in our country, in terms of leagues, in terms of structure, organization, and everything around the national team.
I know before the WAFCON that you guys won, you said that winning that tournament was something that was on your bucket list. It was a tick box that you had to get done in your time. Now you've done it. It sounds pretty cool. African champions, right?
It does, doesn't it?
It's got a nice ring to it.
I still sleep with my medal. I'm joking.
All right, you got to clip that, Ray. Absolutely. But that was like, for me, you guys deserve that, because previously you'd come so close. But this was like that moment where you actually a watershed moment for me, for Banyana, and for a group of players who've given a large part of their lives for the national team.
Definitely. I thought I would never achieve that, but it was one last time for me to achieve it. And it was a bittersweet tournament for me, because I didn't get to feature much in the tournament. And I understood right from the beginning that, perhaps maybe not in the plans of a first 11 to go and compete for my country. And I came to terms with myself that I'm in the squad and I'm there for a reason. I'm a leader of the team, and perhaps maybe not lead the team on the field, but I could always be that leader off the field and from behind. And that's exactly what my mindset changed to. Because, any other player would sit in the corner and sulk because I'm not playing. I've played my whole career. I played with the national team. Desiree knew exactly that would be my last tournament, African Cup of Nations tournament, to feature in my 7th edition. And not playing, any other player would have just hidden in the corner and not said a word.
Yeah.
And for me, it was about stepping up as a leader and supporting every single player that went onto the pitch, as I would have wanted the support from my leader if she didn't play. And yeah, it was deep within. It was really difficult to manage, because I believe that I should be playing. I think any player would believe they should be on the pitch featuring for their country. But in the locker room, before the game, in the mornings, prior to the kickoff, after the game, I was the happiest person.
Yeah.
I was the most supportive person. I remember in the final against Morocco, we were 0-0, and Desiree only had a speech of 5 minutes, probably because there was a lot of pressure. She didn't want to put much into the girls' heads. And I thought it would be my moment to step up and, remind the girls that this is the last 45 minutes of this massive tournament.
Yeah.
So went to individuals to try and, give them some motivation. Obviously throughout in the game, the coach would shout here and there, and they would lose some motivation and encouragement that they believe that didn't do well. So it was up to me to kind of uplift them.
Yeah.
And went to a few players and did that, and just try to be that leader, that supportive, play that supportive role. And we happened to win it, and I was again the happiest on the field, and as if I had played the game. So yeah, it's definitely a memory that will stick with me for the rest of my life. And whether or not I played and featured, it's still a highlight for me, myself, to be able to lift the trophy after so many years.
Absolutely.
And have that gold medal around my neck and finally consider myself an African champion.
Absolutely. I think, something you've just said now, I don't think... I get that you're an extremely competitive person, and you are sort of in the latter stages of your professional career. But I honestly think your next chapter is being revealed to you, like it or not. It's being sort of, and the role that you played in the change room. And you look at other successful teams. There's been people who have the experience, they've got the credibility, they've got the leadership qualities that have played roles. Sorry, I'm about to swear. Liverpool have done it for many years because they've had leaders within, and there's other successful teams, but I look at a James Milner, for example, didn't start every game, but you can see the role that he played, and the captain's armband went to him when he was on the park.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of probably where you are at this stage, but you have such a vast amount of knowledge and experience to give that you're a calming influence on the dressing room and on the team and on the bench, wherever it may be. So I have no doubt your next chapter, and it will be, and I'm putting it down now as a future national coach on the show. I'm saying it. You can mark that. It might not be South Africa. It might be South Africa. It might be the Netherlands. It might be Zambia. I don't know, but I have no doubt that that's where your career is heading because of so much commitment, dedication, and love for the sport. And I think because you now are an African champion, you've been to a World Cup, you've been to an Olympic Games. I mean, that's an impressive CV. You can be very proud of what you've achieved. And you should be able to walk into a dressing room and command that respect and have that presence. And I commend you. I think you've had an amazing career, and hopefully it's not done just yet.
Thank you. No, definitely not. And it's what sticks in the back of my head is all the things that you have just mentioned. People always say that you could have, broken records and been the best leader off the field, but coaching is very different from playing. And that's what sticks in my head, and that's what drives me to actually put myself out there and learn as much as I can on the coaching side of things. And a lot of people ask me, you're going to be the next Banyana coach. If Desiree retires or Desiree moves on, Janine is going to step into that role. And I say no, because I feel in myself that I'm not ready for that role. No matter with all the experience and knowledge that I've gained throughout over the years, that is playing experience.
Yeah.
It's not coaching experience.
Exactly.
And I wouldn't want to step into a senior role and take on that big responsibility yet if I know deep in myself that I still have a lot to learn. I've worked with many coaches in my career, and I can say there's many coaches that I was like, I know more than what you know. Like, I could step in easily
You could
and
tell
take
straight
over
away.
your role.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then there's coaches like Vera Powell,
Yeah.
where I'm in awe whenever she speaks, because every single word that comes out of her mouth is something to learn from. And with coaching badges that I've done. So I just think like every FA, every coaching course has different methods of what you coach. But I try and grasp as much information as I can, tactically, technically, how to deal with players, how to deal with mentality, how to deal with the moments of football. But it's obviously how I'm going to be, implementing it as myself, as a person, and what I know and how I know. So I think that will take time. And definitely, if I could, I would probably start with my own football club, because I'd be a lot more comfortable where I am. Not to say I want to go the comfortable route, but to gradually get myself ready for that next chapter.
Sure. Earning your stripes. I think, even if it means moving at some point into a sort of assistant manager role or something along those lines, I think you're a student of the game and you're always wanting to learn. And I think it's quite interesting, like your approach now, because a lot of coaches, and we've seen across the women's game, like the English coach, for example, the pressure she's been under and what her next move is. Vera, for example, you look at the USA, they didn't have a great World Cup, let's be honest. But it's about absorbing knowledge, isn't it? It's about applying that knowledge to situations. And I think a key thing is player management, because there's egos, there's all sorts of things. And I suppose by having played 183 times for your country, you kind of get what it takes to make it to that level.
Yeah, definitely. And I think for me, I think I'll be I'll be more of a disciplinarian coach. You got to have the right attitude, right mentality in order to play football. Like, for me, I'm not worried about your talent and what you can give, but if you don't have the heart and the passion and the discipline to give your best every single day, you're probably not going to be part of my team.
Sure.
So that's my method and way of doing it. More like a Sir Alex Ferguson. Everyone needs to...
He did all right.
Everyone needs to be unified in the team. You have to have different talents in the group. It's not about the most skillful player. It's not the player that scores the most goals. It's about who can contribute in what role in order for the team to win. And that's the kind of approach that I'll probably take as a coach. But it will be very difficult to find, because I think the mentality of the next generation of footballers, I kind of feel like they just feel entitled these days. I feel like, of course, women's football is on the rise, and but I just feel the women's teams, you look at the Americans, you look at the Spaniards now, every little thing that they want, they have to protest in order to get. If they're not happy with the coach, let's protest and not play. So it's not about the coach anymore. It's about what the players want.
Sure.
So whether my method is going to work, I don't know. But I have to put myself in an environment where the FA, wherever I may be, or the club where I may be, need to trust in my way. And I think I learned that through Vera. Is that if you want me, if you want my expertise, if you want me to bring results, then trust the process. It's not about someone else coming in to influence my decision making. So whether I find a team now or maybe in 5 years, I don't know, but that is the way I'm going to be, stuck to, and what I believe would work for me.
So then I'm warning you, I'm putting you on the spot right now. You as a coach, I mean, imagine, I'm sure you can understand how Desiree felt when Banyana said they weren't going to play on a substandard surface.
Yeah.
And then there was all the disputes around bonuses. As a coach, that puts you in such a tricky position because your plans are, how are we going to take on a tough group at the World Cup? You're not thinking about bonuses and playing surfaces. You kind of want to rock up and assume that that's been taken care of, right? I mean, it puts you in a difficult position as a coach.
I do believe that, but I also believe that that could have been handled way before the last game,
Sure.
before they left for the World Cup. That could have been handled by leadership, by management and staff, technical staff of the national team. It could have been one of the leaders coming in to speak to the staff and management, or call a meeting with the president to have discussed that way before the time they had to leave. They were in the month. They were in camp a month before they had to leave.
Yeah.
So surely they had time within that month to discuss what their bonus structure would be, what is it that they'll get, and so on, so they can completely, fully focus on their next steps.
Yeah.
So I felt that the timing was completely wrong. It was a shame that it had to happen that way, because it should have been a great send-off for Banyana before they went to the World Cup.
It took the shine off a bit, didn't it?
And they did.
Yeah.
They did take the shine off. And it was disappointing in a way. Good that the girls stood up for themselves, I believe, but it could have been done long before.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Look, I mean, Banyana did very well at the World Cup. Let's not kid ourselves. I think making it out of the group is a huge achievement. And I think now the bar is set incredibly high for next World Cup, because now I know 2027 there's a bid and South Africa is trying to host it, and it'll be amazing if
I
it
won't
does.
be the coach.
Okay, right now. You never know. You never know in sport, Janine van Wyk. You never know. But I think like where the sport's heading, imagine it's hosted. I mean, 2010 was incredible here.
Yeah.
And I think 2027, if we do host, would be pretty special.
It would be amazing to have a World Cup here in South Africa. It will just elevate women's football in our country. But yeah, it's 4 years, and you'd think 4 years is a long time from now. It's not.
It's not.
So, as a SAFA, I would really have put something in, whether we're going to host or not, I would really have put something in place. And of course, Banyana had a lot of pressure on their shoulders, having, boycotts a day before they had to leave. They didn't play the send-off game. It was all about money. The country was like, no, this team is all about money. So they had a lot of pressure on their shoulders to go out and perform, which they did. But also the African champions, all African teams won a game in the tournament, and South Africa were the last to win a game and qualify for the next round. So it was in the mandate that they qualify for the next round, because 2019 we were there, gained the experience. Next World Cup we need to do better, especially as African champions, and we done that. And very, very proud of the girls for doing that, and for Desiree to accomplish that. But the next World Cup is 4 years from now. How well are we going to be prepared for that? Are we going to qualify for that? There's many girls that are stepping out and coming in, the next generation, new players, younger players coming through, talented players coming through. There's still a question whether Coach Des will be there or not. I mean, it would really be unfair for her to leave a year before, the World Cup, because that next coach that comes in will only have a year to prepare.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of factors in place to set us for that next World Cup.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating. I think that, look, we can harp on about the work that needs to be done, but I think we also need to celebrate how far women's football has come in general. And once again, you're one of those trailblazers. You've paved the way for so many other future Banyana stars. I wanted to ask you, I mean, I've seen like throughout your career, like you've been always keen to take on a challenge. Is that something that's been in your sort of DNA, like test yourself, experience new things, take in knowledge?
I think it's come from a young age, since starting playing with the boys. I think the challenges start already then, because I could have easily given up and said to my mom, like, look, it's not for me. I don't want to be the only girl in the all boys league and boys team, feeling isolated every single training session or game, until I eventually had to prove my worth. So the challenges started from a very young age, and then after the boys going into a women's league where I was the only white girl and dealing with different cultures and different backgrounds and learning the language and trying to fit in and find my place there. So that was another challenge for me. Then it was, after that, it was getting into the national team, and it was a challenge for me to prove my worth in order to remain in the national team, to be consistent. And that was one of the biggest challenges for me, because, your place is never guaranteed in the national team. And having to be in the national team since 2005 up until today, it just shows consistency and doing the right thing and being disciplined enough and, making a lot of sacrifices, challenges of not having a matric today because of football. So there were risks that I took in order to get this kind of career, and I wouldn't encourage any other student to do the same, because it works out for people different. I just count myself very lucky, but also because I followed the right path. I made a lot of sacrifices. Of course, when you're a teenager, you go out and you have fun and so on, and that was limited for me. I didn't have many friends, because where I grew up, it was Afrikaans-speaking girls, and they didn't understand football. So I never really had friends, outside of school, where it was just remained in school and that was it. No one really wanted to come and support football. It was all about netball and hockey and athletics, track and field. So I think my entire career is just formed from challenges that I've overcome.
Yeah, and well done to you.
Got me to where I am.
As someone who plays a defensive role in the team, you've scored a few goals. Do you remember them? I mean, because according to the internet, the interwebs, it's 2 against Nigeria.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool because of the rivalry that we have. And then I see there's 1 against Mozambique. Is it the 3 international goals, right?
Yeah, I remember the goals against Nigeria 2010 when we hosted African Cup of Nations. It was a free kick. They were leading 2-0, and it was a free kick right about 25 yards outside. And just took a free kick and hit a top corner, and it was amazing.
That's a worldie.
In Davidson, it was an extraordinary feeling. People went crazy. We lost the game 2-1 though, but scoring against Nigeria. And then in 2012, probably in the most memorable one, when we played in the semi-finals against Nigeria in the African Cup of Nations, and beating them for the first ever time, making history by beating Nigeria first ever. And I scored that goal with a left foot. Everyone's saying it was a free kick, but I remember it so well. It was a corner that Vilakazi took, and it bounced outside the box, but she passed it back to me because it fell to her, and there was pressure coming towards me to try and block, and I just took a blind shot with my left foot, and it hit top corner, and it went in, and we won the game. And it was a fantastic feeling, putting us into the finals.
Yeah, I mean, 1-0, crazy goal. Right. I mean, finishing in style, hey?
Yeah. I didn't plan it, but I just...
I'd claim it.
Claim it.
So, Janine, looking ahead now, as we've got a few more minutes, would you say your international career, you're still hungry for those 2 more appearances to try and break that record? Is that something that, I mean, because I know not going to World Cup must have been devastating for you. But having support around you made a big difference too, and having someone like Vera come and say, hey man, sorry, what's happening? How are you feeling? But there's still that hunger to represent Banyana.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was a big disappointment for me not to go to feature in the World Cup. But that is football. You in, you out due to injury, due to other factors. but you still carry on. And of course, it's 2 caps that I'm away from breaking a record.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's just for myself that I want to break the record for, but a South African male or female to hold that record. I mean, currently it's an Egyptian. I think I'm not sure of his name, but he has 184 caps at the moment, and he's held that record for many years. So to have a South African female to hold that record, to break that record, and to hold it for maybe in the next 4 or 5 years to come, you never know, would be something extraordinary, not for myself, but for the association, for South Africans, and for everyone. And I think it's just, for me, I have to end off with that record to celebrate my journey with the national team.
I think looking at, I said, this is an amazing CV that you've got here. I mean, Women's African Cup of Nations winners in 2022, runners-up 2008, 12, 18, third place 2006, 10.
Yeah.
That's why 2022 was so special,
just
right?
not a gold medal. Yes. Silver,
yeah, you got
bronze,
the collection now.
bronze.
Janine van Wyk, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
I think you're a wonderful person. I think you're an incredible ambassador for South African football, and I think your journey in football is far from over. So good luck for the future, and keep up the amazing work.
Thank you. I really appreciate your support, as always.
Thanks for watching, and big shout out to our partners at Betway. Remember to like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.